Hey folks, welcome back. It's Krishna here, and we're going to take a look at drawing very interesting and unusual heads using the lasso tool. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start off with a brand new layer, and I'm going to use my lasso tool. Now, the lasso tool is a tool that is typically used to make a selection. We're going to use this to make an enclosed shape. So if I simply move the lasso tool to create some kind of a random shape, you can see that it's creating an enclosure. And I can always add to what we call this selection right here by holding down the Shift key. And I can always subtract from the selection by holding down the Option or the Alt key. So in this way, I can add and subtract to create some very interesting and unusual shapes. So this selection is going to turn into a shape by hitting Option, Delete, or Alt, Backspace. And let's deselect that by hitting Command D. And then let's just drop the opacity of this layer to something like 30% or so. So now comes the fun part. Now we have to look at this shape and we have to make it, into something that has some form. Now, I challenge you to think outside of the box so that you're just not going with the absolute, first thing that comes to your mind. But you can draw within the shape. This guy could be like a starfish type of character. Or what we could do is we could use the negative spaces. And now we've got this really interesting, unusual kind of bug that we would have never drawn before. So that is just one possibility with this particular technique. Let's take a look at a few other ways that we can use the shapes. So holding down the Option or the Alt key to subtract, holding down the Shift key to add to my selections. Let's go with that. So I'll hit Option Delete to fill, drop the opacity, and then if I want, I can hit the R key to rotate. We can look at this from different angles and different directions to see if there's anything that's of interest. I kind of like this. So what I'll do is I'll just come back in. I'll use this as kind of like, this looks like body armor. Or maybe he's a jester. Not a really happy jester. But we've got this really unusual, interesting character. I can just rotate him so you can see him in the proper view. Let's do another one. Holding down the Option key or the Alt key to subtract, and then holding down the Shift key to add. There's no rhyme or reason to these shapes. You just make random shapes. And you just see what happens. So let's just try that. That's kind of weird and unusual. Let's see. I may have to rotate this shape. I'm using the transform tool here. This looks a little bit like, I can see maybe this alien head. You don't want to overthink this either, too. There's no right or wrong answer. You just want to just see what you can do with it. So I've got this weird head. I've got this mouth for the character. This could even be like some kind of a t-shirt. I'm just going to go ahead and call this a t-shirt. And you can add some arms. Maybe his arms are ridiculously short. And you can also draw outside of the form. So that's something else that this technique also gives you the luxury of doing. You don't have to keep everything inside the enclosed shape. So it's a good ideation tool. Give this a try when you're feeling stuck or you just want to go ahead and fire those creative juices. I think it's a really good way to explore character design and come up with characters that you've never drawn before. Now, if you find value in this particular video, definitely give it a thumbs up so that more folks can find this content. And if you haven't already considered subscribing, please subscribe. And if you already are a subscriber, thank you so much. I do appreciate your support. And we're on the race to get 1,000 subscribers. So every little bit helps, and I will continue to share content with you that will help level up your digital art game. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.